What is up, guys? It's Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we're going to be talking about the pole shift, and we've got some information that we think is important. I am here with Dex, my co-host. Dex, are you there?
Hello, Adam. I am here, and hello, Foogle fam.
So we've got lots of stuff to talk about. We're going to do that here in just a second. I'm going to load up everything, and we will be right back. All right. So, there might be some new people here. I noticed that we've got a lot of new subscribers over from the shout out from Edge of Wonder. So, I thank you guys over at Edge of Wonder. Ben and Rob, thank you guys. Appreciate it much. Their Friday Night Live was awesome. They were talking about the weird news and everything else. So, that being said, also make sure to check out our smaller channel, which is right at the precipice of 100,000 subscribers over on Marfoogle TV. Easy to get there from any browser. Go to marfoogle.tv. That's, again, in any browser, marfoogle.tv. And if you want to share this channel, all you have to share is marfoogle.news. So both of those go directly there. Okay, and then, Dex, we have you here. We're going to be talking about pole shift. Is it real? Is it something that we need to worry about? Some say yes, and some say that it's going to diminish our actual protection of this earth that we call home. So we're going to cover a couple articles here and a couple new things that came out. And I would love to hear your thoughts about this later on the call-in show over on Marfoogle TV. Now, Dex, the articles that we pulled together here, does this shock you, or is this something that you knew about before?
Well, yeah, it's sort of new news to me this year. We've talked a little bit about the pole shift, but we're seeing more and more information coming out about the pole, and then coupling that with solar activity, or in some cases lack of, and then what does that mean? And as we start to look at what the effects of potential pole shifting has to do with the magnetosphere, and what that means to us as a globe, and what will happen over time, to our atmosphere and to, our ability to live outdoors. It's kind of interesting as we started to peel back the layers on these topics.
Now, I'm going to cover a couple of articles here. If you guys missed this, or if you want to follow along, you can actually go to marfooglenews.com. When you go there, you can click on this thumbnail. We'll always have the most recent video here. Once you click on it down below, you will see that we have every article, every tweet, anything that we actually attach to any show is going to be right here. During our call-in shows, we even have caller info there. Now, when you go to the website, you can't see it on here for whatever reason. It's not showing it, but you can actually get notifications from our website that work mobily. So they're actually better than the notifications that come on the platform, because obviously those are a little bit weird, a little bit wanky, you could say. Again, when you click show notifications, it will actually alert you mobily or on your computer, laptop, tablet, whatever you watch us on. So this is going into deep solar minimum on the verge of a historic milestone. Now, it says here, the sun is currently in the midst of a deep solar minimum, and it's about to reach an historic milestone. So far this year, the sun has been blank, i.e. no visible sunspots, and for 266 days, and barring any major surprises, it will reach 269 days early next week, which will be the quietest year in terms of sunspots since 1913, when the sun was spotless for 311 days. It says, in fact, the current stretch of consecutive spotless days has reached 29, and for the year, the sun has been blank 77% of the time. The current record holder in the satellite era for spotless days in a given year is 2008, when the sun was blank for 268 days, making the 2008-2009 solar minimum the deepest since 1913. Now, during that time, they had a lot of stuff going on, and I want to remind you, the NERC report only went, do you remember that, Dex? We talked about the power outages, we talked about all the things that happened from the NERC official thing, there were 579 attacks on different grid-related things, or CMEs or things like this. Only 2 were reported, and both of them are actually recent. Now, that actually did not cover 2011 or 2012 and back. Am I wrong, or is that starting at 2009? Do you remember?
Yeah, it may have started. If I remember, it may have started around that time. I'd have to go back and check.
It's just kind of weird because there's a blank spot. When we were doing our research, we couldn't find something for that that year period. Either way, it says solar minimum is a normal part of the 11-year sunspot cycle, but the last one and the current one have been far deeper than most. One of the consequences of a solar minimum is a reduction of solar storms, and another is the intensification of cosmic rays. Now, cosmic rays can cause all sorts of different problems. We've talked about this much on our show. It says the just ended solar cycle 24 turned out to be one of the weakest in more than a century, continuing a weakening trend that began in the 1980s. And if the latest forecasts are correct, the next solar cycle will be the weakest in more than 200 years. Now, one thing to talk about this is the magnetic north is actually shifting. There's all sorts of things going on with this. We actually talked about the birds that fell out of the sky. Some people say it was, pole shift. Some say all sorts of different things. A lot of people have different ideas on that. Some think 5G, but that wouldn't explain the ones that happened before 5G. And these kind of things are, definitely something I've been asking about a lot, especially on Twitter and Instagram. It says, shift in Earth's magnetic north throws off navigators off course. Now, I've talked about this on my show, how magnetic north was basically going super fast, way faster and gaining speed. Now, Dex, didn't it slow down again or something like this?
Yeah, it may have appeared that it's starting to slow again, but it is still heading in the direction of Russia.
And heading towards Siberia, the whole thing about this is people say, they don't know. There's so many unknown factors to this, and if it flips, then a lot of big things happen, or at least that's what people think. Now, there's going to be some stuff in here where basically that our protection for our Earth is actually fading at a rate of 5% per year. So we're going to talk about that. It may be why that we are looking to go off Earth. It says navigators have relied upon it for centuries. More recently, it's become essential aid in everything that from smartphone apps to aviation and shipping. The magnetic North Pole is the peripatetic point on the Earth's surface where its magnetic field, created by iron churning deep within the planet's core, points directly downwards. But the latest calculations reveal how magnetic north is shifting position at a rate that is unprecedented in recorded history, racing across the Arctic region at 50 kilometers per year. Now, this is actually sped up, and people are like, what the heck is going on? Some say it's just a normal cycle. And it says, in showing little sign of slowing down. The movement since the 1990s is much faster than at any time for at least 4 centuries. So that's definitely a little bit different. It says we don't really know much about the changes in the core that's driving it. And then it says the findings were contained in the updated version of the World Magnetic Model released this week by its joint compliers, the BGS and U.S. National Centers for Environment Information. So essentially what's happening is this thing is shifting and it's moving, and they had to readjust satellite positioning super early. Now it says here, together with satellite positioning data, the model underpins modern navigation, and frequent revisions are essential so operators can reconcile magnetic sensors and compass readings with geographic reality. Here's where it starts, it's getting crazy here. Earth enters unknown as magnetic North Pole continues push towards Russia and crosses the Greenwich Meridian. So, Dex, can you explain what happens and why what this is with the Greenwich Meridian?
Yeah, actually, there's a visual. If you go back to the article you were just talking about, that animated graphic, you'll see the Greenwich Meridian, which is where it's the prime meridian where time begins, so to speak, as we label it across the globe, the time zones. And you can see the movement of the magnetic North pole as it shifted very slowly from 1500s into 1600s, and then as it hits into the 2000s, and it just skyrockets across the top of the globe heading towards Siberia. And it just passed the Greenwich Meridian. So that's I guess a milestone or a specific marker that people can understand about where the magnetic pole has now moved beyond as it's heading across the globe towards Siberia.
Now, some are saying that you're having a couple issues as far as it's cutting out a little bit, but we got the whole message. Now, this graph is actually pretty scary if you look at it like this, because it looks like it went forward, then actually went backwards, almost like you never know. Before this recorded history, it could have just been kind of wobbling back and forth, and then all of a sudden, it took a sharp turn, went this way. I mean, it's just wacky. Maybe this was a giant earthquake or something. We don't know. In fact, actually, what year was that? Just curious. I'm going to let that roll through. I'm going to see whereabouts it was in 1700. In 1700, we had that gigantic Cascadia subduction zone. It doesn't look like that was the case, though. It was 1780. Now, that graph is pretty scary when you look at it. It looks like exponentially it's gaining in speed and gaining in distance. If you think about that, I mean, look at how big that is. That was hundreds and hundreds of miles there. Now it says, now that it has crossed this, a lot of people are saying that this is pretty nuts. It says the WMM 2020 forecasts that the northern magnetic pole will continue drifting towards Russia, although at a slowly decreasing speed down to about 40 kilometers per year compared to the average speed of 55 over the past 20 years. And it says the data confirm that this year, the magnetic North Pole passed to within 300 kilometers of the geographic North Pole and crossed the Greenwich Prime Meridian. Compliers also confirm that the Earth's magnetic field is continuing to weaken. It says at a rate of about 5% every 100 years. Now, if you can do some simple math, in 10,000, or I'm sorry, not even, in 1,000 years, that would be 50% less strong. Now, just to explain, we've got the Wikipedia, which also shows them begging for money. But the third statement here is the most important. The magnetosphere is the region above the ionosphere that is defined by the extent of Earth's magnetic field in space. It extends several tens of thousands of kilometers into space, protecting Earth from the charged particles of the solar wind and cosmic rays that would otherwise strip away the upper atmosphere, including the ozone layer that protects the Earth from harmful ultraviolet radiation. Now, could that explain the crazy purple skies we've actually shown on our show? The more purple, the more isn't it? The more purple, the more gamma rays. Isn't that what it was? I believe that's what it was. Who knows? Because, now in recent history, people are not seeing like pink and beautiful red sunsets. They're actually seeing like dark purple, crazy purples, which, normally are a sign of certain things. Sometimes they can trigger a typhoon in the Asias. You'll see the purple skies before a big typhoon, something weather related. But when you're seeing it all over the world, and in fact, if you look up purple skies on Twitter, you'll see tons and tons of the pictures. I mean, this is like a purple you've never seen before. It's insane. And people have been sending me their pictures from all over the world. And these different conditions shouldn't all have purple, but that's what everybody is seeing across continents. So, that isn't the big deal here. As far as the purple skies, that's one thing. That's just like a guess from my part. Like, I think it's just a little bit odd. But as far as this goes, this possibly could be why they are looking to get off Earth, or at least the elites. Maybe they're not in the know. Maybe they really think that this is going to end us, and then that's why they're doing all this crazy stuff. Including, we've talked about Asgardia. Asgardia is an actual space nation that is forming, and a lot of people take it as a joke because you can go online and just like naming a star or something, I guess you can pay a couple dollars or something like that. I don't know, Dex, if you ever looked up how much it was, but you basically pay to be a part of this, be a citizen of Asgardia. Well, the upper people in this are actual like super elites. These guys are the guys who are part of the people that rule this planet. And they are actually forming a real government. They are doing a ton of stuff. It says a self-declared space nation called Asgardia is planning a fully functioning space economy and wants help from Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Of course, Elon Musk from SpaceX and Jeff Bezos from Origin. It says Asgardia is a non-governmental organization that wants to become the first kingdom and nation state in space. On Saturday, the group's 150 elected representatives, which are mostly super elites, met for Asgardia's first parliamentary session in Tallinn, Estonia. It says Asgardia chairman Lembit Opik told Business Insider the group has considered approaching Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos to help them get into outer space. The two tech billionaires founded space companies SpaceX and Blue Origin, respectively. It says more than 300,000 people are already paying Asgardia's annual residency fee, although UN rules suggest Asgardia's ambition to set up a true space nation won't be realized for some time, if ever. Now, if you know the names that are actually a part of this, and some of the names that they've mentioned are embarrassed about talking about it, or they won't talk about it publicly, you're talking about some serious powerhouses. And then, I think like a lot of things in the lower tiers, it's just like, whatever. It's kind of like, in my opinion, Masons, right? Lower tiers, they don't know nothing. Top tiers, they know everything. Same with this, in my opinion. It says the self-declared space nation that wants to operate a fully functioning society in space has started laying out its version for establishing an off-world colony. Now, on top of that, we have all of these weird goals, all of the weird countries that are trying to get to Mars, trying to get to the moon, trying to get off of the planet. Of course, put through this one in here, Buzz Aldrin is ready for another trip. This is funny, but this is actually what people are talking about. Like, people say that this is his, some sort of op or this or that. It's just very strange that we are trying to go to Mars when they say, from all of the information here, that our planet very well could become the next Mars. If we lose that protection, that's what would end up happening. See, Dex, can you explain what would happen if we lose all of that protection around us?
Well, I mean, yeah, just think about it. If what we're talking about in the first article was cosmic rays are being, even though we've got a solar activity, cosmic rays are being increased. We also see that the magnetosphere is losing its ability or its strength a certain percentage every so many years. So it's actually weakening. And the more it weakens, the less it has the ability to protect us. And if we lose that protection in our upper atmosphere and we lose the ozone layer, ultraviolet rays, the cosmic rays, and all of that start to damage on Earth, then, without life, everything starts to fall apart, right? And you turn into pretty much a giant dust bowl like Mars.
Now,
move underground.
And it doesn't matter, there's a lot of people with different views of what, is actually going on. There's people with different views of even space. Some think that space is a made-up thing. That's totally fine. Here at Marfugal News, we actually, especially on our call-in, we have people from all different beliefs, all different backgrounds call in. We actually support the idea of everything. Instead of arguing about it and saying you're right or you're this right. As far as space goes, if you don't know any single person that has been to space, then you really can't talk either way. That's how I feel about it. That's how a lot of people feel about it because, honestly, how many of us have gone up? Not many. It says NASA identifies regions of Mars with water ice just below the surface. When NASA astronauts visit Mars, they'll probably need to harvest the planet's water ice for drinking water and fuel. It makes sense then for a space agency to target a landing spot near easily accessible ice. And they now have a, quote, treasure map detailing where that ice exists to make the process much easier. You wouldn't need a backhoe to dig up this ice. NASA researcher Sylvian Picuk said in a news release, you could use a shovel. It says we've known that water ice exists on Mars since 2008, according to this new research published in the journal Geophysical Research Letters on Tuesday. It says, quote, the more we look for near-surface ice, the more we find. NASA researcher Leslie Tampari said in the news release, quote, observing Mars with multiple spacecraft over the course of years continues to provide us with new ways of discovering the ice. Now, I know you have an opinion about this article here, Dex. Do you want to say that real quick?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's, we've got this whole notion about do we go to Mars and do we try to create something there that may have been there before? Like a lot of us think, a lot of people think that there was an atmosphere there or I guess science has shown there was potentially an atmosphere there before. And is there something here that we're going to do? We're going to go back and fix that? And is that an escape from our planet, or is it just an augmentation to deal with our population? I mean, there's a lot of questions that we don't understand why the elite are driving so hard to go towards Mars and driving so hard to get off the planet and into space. But there are a lot of different indicators that we need to be paying attention to.
And again, this is from the new, this was actually from today, that says 5% every 100 years will weaken. So the magnetic field that is protecting us, and also this ties into a lot of other stuff. This strengthens different things. Of course, it's part of the ozone. A lot of this is all connected. And then, of course, protecting us from different things like asteroids. Part of the entire protection of the planet works on this kind of ecosystem, or supposedly does. You know, again, there's a lot of this stuff that people question, but we talk about the what ifs, and, you know, it's kind of crazy stuff. It says the world magnetic model is used from everything from smartphones, and then it says down here, with the pole passing the Greenwich Meridian and continuing its race east, humanity is entering the unknown. Scientifically speaking, since from the time of records of the magnetic North Pole's position have been kept since starting the 16th century, the pole had drifted around the Canadian Arctic. It says Dr. Phil Livermore of Leeds University Institute of Geophysics recently populated that, quote, a jet stream of liquid iron flowing in the planet's core could help explain shifts in the position of magnetic north, but suggested tracking the flows of this liquid iron could be difficult because, quote, it lies beneath 3,000 kilometers of rock, lower than they've actually gone. It says scientists have previously expressed concerns about the fluctuations in the magnetic North Poles and possible impact on the magnetic field protecting Earth. Without the field, Earth would be left vulnerable to solar flares, which could, end up knocking out our entire grid. Isn't it kind of weird that we just had T-Man, Commander-in-Chief, and Homeland Security say you need to get prepared for 6 months to a year? It's kind of funny timing. And it says, without the field, Earth would be left vulnerable to solar flares, which could cause damage to everything from spacecraft to power grids. Even with the magnetic field intact, the planet remains vulnerable. In 2011, the U.S. National Academy of Sciences calculated that a repeat of a solar storm like the one that hit the planet in 1859, which, mind you, happens every 100 years or so, and it's already past that, could cause as much as $2 trillion in initial damage and could take a decade to repair. So they are literally telling us, if it's on average every 100 years, the last one was in 1859, it's kind of common sense that they signed bills to harden our grid. Which, again, we've talked about, we've warned you, there's not much more that we can do. And it says, furthermore, a weakened magnetic field may lead to a potentially cataclysmic process scientists call a, quote, geomagnetic reversal, in which the Earth's north and south poles effectively switch places. The last such flip is estimated to have taken place about 800,000 years ago, and some scientists believe that another may be due soon, even though such an event could take centuries to complete. So if you guys end up wanting to, support us, you can actually protect yourself with NordVPN. You can end up getting off as much as 84% off with our code MARFUGL. This can protect you from all sorts of tech bad guys. Again, this is something that you guys need in this day and age. And then again, with EMP Shield, this we believe is going to save lives. We are an affiliate. We're very transparent. We are trying to earn money to become a real news source, and I appreciate each and every one of you who have supported me since I was streaming to 2 or 3 people in my car to today. With this partnership with EMP, this is a big deal because this is who they are hiring to protect the Texas grid. This is who is working with departments like DOD and Homeland Security to actually help our grid strengthen. This is a big deal. After T-Man signed that bill, this is where they ended up heading. In fact, the EMP shield itself is in the EMP resilience report, mentioned by name, because this is a device that can actually protect against E1, E2, and E3 EMPs. So if that's the bad guys, NK, Russia, anybody else, or CMEs from something like what we are talking about, is almost overdue by now. So again, marfugelnews.com/EMP if you want to support us a different way, something that can actually protect your computer. If you get emails, anything like that, make sure to go to marfugelnews.com/VPN. Dex, do you have anything else to say before we go?
No, Adam, I just want to remind everybody, we'll be covering these topics and much at our call-in show later tonight over on Marfugel TV. And I just want to say God bless everybody and thank you for.
So again, with marfugelnews.com, if you look up at the top, there's actually a quick way to do it. You can go to marfugelnews.com, and there are two different things here. There's TV and news. News is the channel that you are on. These videos are right here. You can actually go look through our old videos. Last night, we got knocked off 6 different times because we ended up starting the stream talking about Q-related things. So I thought that was kind of funny. So you can watch the last video now. We will be live shortly around 7:30 most likely. Right when we do it, we're going to notify you. And again, from this website, you will instantly get something that pops up and says, hey, would you like notifications? If you click on it, you won't have to depend on the YT notifications. All right, well, thank you guys, and I just absolutely appreciate each and every one of you that have followed us this far. Again, if you want to support any of our other ventures, you can go here to find them and join our Discord. Information for that is coming now. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out.
You want to know what's going on? What's really going on when it happens? Go to marfugelnews.com and get Marfugel alerts along with a Discord invitation where you can find your local state group and get together with the Fugel fam. You'll find fast friends where you'll share prep and intel, and there's even special groups for former and current military. But don't try and steal the valor of those who have really served. It won't go well for you. The Marfugel fam is waiting for you.